back to Journal Sunshine, and today I have a package that was sent to me by Ferris Wheel Press. They gifted this package to me in exchange for a video and some social media posts, and I am really excited because I have been following their products for a long time and never actually got to try them out yet, so this is very exciting for me. I do have one bottle of their ink, but I haven't used it yet, and so I am excited to have some more to try out now. So we're gonna open up what's in here. It's very exciting to me whenever a company that I already love reaches out to me and wants to work with me, so I hope that you enjoy seeing an honest look at some of their products that they sent me. Just for full transparency, they did not pay me outside of the gifting of these products. So let's go ahead and see what they sent me. This is what I was most excited for. They sent me a fountain pen! This is the Ferris Wheel Press brush fountain pen. It's called that because it looks like a paintbrush, and I've seen them and they're so beautiful, and it's in the color Lord Evergreen. The packaging that this came in is really beautiful. It says Write History down at the bottom here, and it looks like the pen itself is in this nice little slipcase here. And let's take a look. First look here. Oh wow, that feels really nice. It's got like a shiny, glossy finish to it. And then this part right here, it looks like a brass nut, which is kind of cool because if I lay it on a table, it won't roll. That will stop it from happening. So I've seen online that this particular pen has a gorgeous grip section. So let's take a look. It unscrews. Oh, wow. Look at that! That is absolutely stunning. Do you see that design? So I got a medium nib. This is kind of cool. It faces in the opposite direction from most nibs that I've seen. Wow. That is absolutely stunning. All the way around the design. That is beautiful, and that is a steel nib, a medium. It is actually a pretty small pen once you look at it like this. I don't have especially large hands, but there's plenty of space for it for a larger hand, I believe. It's just very thin. So I'm just gonna open it up and see here. We've got, so the pen comes with a converter here, and you just, I guess, twist this when you dunk it into some ink. I am going to fill it up in this video and get started writing with it so you can kind of get my thoughts on that, but I am so excited. It's beautiful. It's just a gorgeous pen. I don't have anything quite like it. Oh, I was really hoping they'd send this one. So this is an ink. It's called Moss Park Green, and I can't get over how beautifully designed their packaging is. Look how pretty this is. There's no way I'm going to be able to throw away this box. I'm just gonna stack them up on my shelf and look at them. Wow. I'm definitely going to ink up that pen with this particular ink. All right. So the ink bottles are also really beautiful. The topper looks a lot like the nut that's on the cap of the fountain pen, which is pretty cool. Kind of carried that design throughout. You can tell they put a lot of effort and thought into their branding and their packaging, and that is something I love. Something that I think is worth the time and effort for sure, and it comes across. Wow. So that's Moss Park Green. I've seen a bunch of YouTube videos and Instagram photos of that particular ink, and I'm very excited to try it out myself. And then this, oh, it's Stroke of Midnight, which I think this came out for the new year. And it's a sparkling ink. So that's pretty cool. It says Fall in Love with Writing Again. I'm so nervous that I'm gonna rip this box because I want to keep it forever. All right, got a little crushed there, but we do the best we can. All right, so this is kind of I believe it's either a black or a very dark blue ink with a gold shimmer. Oh wow. You can kind of see the shimmer in the bottle, but it's very subtle, at least here. that was everything that they sent. So I did send them a list of the products of theirs that I was most excited to try out, and they ended up sending me 3 of my favorites that were on the list. So I really appreciate that. That way I get to try out the ones that I'm most excited for. So it's a little bit hard to see which ink is which on the front, but if you flip them over, they have the names on them. So that's really helpful for sure. So I'm going to start off by swatching the Stroke of Midnight ink using a dip pen for now, and then I'm going to ink up the brush fountain pen with Moss Park Green. Alright, so, it looks like it's sealed, which is really great, and that is all over my hands. You know what? I should also shake this. I don't use shimmering inks very often. I don't have very many of them, and so I often forget that you have to shake them. So, oh wow, there's a lot of shimmer down at the bottom. Make sure that I get at least a little bit of that shimmer. Okay, so it is a dark blue. Let's see how much shimmer we got out of that. Wow, it turns out nice and dark. So for my swatches, I have a Tomoe River paper notebook in a pocket-sized Chic Sparrow, and I stamp the pages with this little swatch stamp that lets me write down the brand, the color, and there's a little box for me to put a swatch in. And so I fill that out using the ink that I'm testing. If it's a bottle of ink, I will dip a Q-tip and fill up that little box, and then I just kind of scribble around and mess with it. Sometimes I do this with fountain pens, and sometimes I use glass dip pen like this when I don't want to commit to actually filling up a fountain pen with the ink. I just want to test it out first. And so my go-tos are like these little swirls and hearts and stars, and I'll probably make a video about this notebook pretty soon. But once this particular ink dries, you can see, especially on the thicker places where the line is more broad, it isn't just a dark blue ink with gold sparkle shimmers in it. It also has a red sheen, mostly around the edges, which is really cool. It's kind of this triple toned, very complex color, which is very cool. I also opened up my B6 Slim Nanami Cafe Note, also in a Chic Sparrow cover, and this is usually where I do just more journaling with fountain pens, longer amounts of writing, and I usually decorate the pages a little bit, but I'm just gonna get that started here. I want to do a whole spread with just these inks, testing them out, and that way we can see what it looks like when you write like actual paragraphs with the ink. It tends to be a little bit more true to life than the swatches, at least for me, and so you can see here the shimmer and sheen are much more subtle. And so now I'm going to ink up the Ferris Wheel Press brush fountain pen, it's a mouthful, with the Moss Park Green ink. And I still can't get over how beautiful that grip section is, but also I'm glad that it came with its own converter because it makes it really easy to just use their inks. And so I think what I'm going to do here, I'm a little bit nervous to dunk that grip section into the bottle, so I actually separated the converter, and I'm going to just dip the converter straight into the bottle. Just to, I don't know, see how that works, because I don't want to get the grip section all messy if I don't have to. And this was actually pretty easy to do. Moss Park Green doesn't have any shimmer in it, so I didn't need to shake it like I did with Stroke of Midnight. And everything's going well so far. I just cleaned it off in a little paper towel and just popped it right back into the pen. And it doesn't screw in, it just kind of presses in, and it seems like it's doing okay. Just wanted to make sure, though, because I did not want it to come apart and explode on me. I also feel like every pen is a little different in how quickly the ink comes out, and so I wasn't necessarily expecting it to flow right away, but surprise, it did. Here we go. Ink is coming out. That is great. It's convenient for me. But I was especially drawn to, I like greens first of all, but I was very drawn to this particular ink at least the way that it was displayed on the website, because I love greens, and I thought that it had some beautiful shading qualities. It goes from being very light to darker. And I've struggled with inks like this more recently. I think I like the idea of them more than I like actually using them in practice for handwriting and journaling for long periods of time. I think they tend to be more decorative for me, and so I'm interested to see what I think of this one in particular. It's beautiful, but do I like the way it looks when I'm writing with a paragraph? That is the question. And then, because it fits in with the theme of the video, I'm going to throw a little surprise ink in there. This is Tanzanite Sky. This was actually a gift from my sister. She got it for me for Christmas, and I haven't had a chance to try it out yet. So I'm going to swatch this along with the other two. So Tanzanite Sky appears to be a very dark, saturated, purplish blue color. It's pretty. It doesn't appear to be shading, at least with the pen that I'm using it with right now. And it's just really beautiful and really clear. And before I get into my thoughts on the fountain pen and actually doing some journaling with these inks, I just wanted to show you what all three of the swatches look like together. Which is your favorite? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. I think so far the Moss Park Green is my favorite, but that Stroke of Midnight is just really cool. Look at that. I love that there are like 3 colors in it. Now, when it comes to this fountain pen, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It is a gorgeous pen, but I did have a pretty huge issue with it, and that is this. Did you see what happened just there? Almost every time I unscrew the cap to write, the grip section comes unscrewed from the rest of the pen body with it, and I have to screw it back in before I can start writing. This is a deal breaker for me, sadly. It's incredibly annoying. I like using multiple fountain pens in one writing session, so I'll write for a couple sentences and then switch pens, and so I am capping and uncapping my pens a lot, and I don't mind the extra time that it takes to unscrew a screwing cap, but having to screw the grip section back in is too much for me. Luckily, I emailed the person who I'd been talking to about this collaboration, and she had me send it back so they could take a look and see what was wrong with it, and she sent me a new one right away. And the new one, which I will show you later in this video, did not have that problem. So it seems like it is not the norm. And so if that happens to you, definitely reach out to their customer service, and hopefully you can get a replacement. It is an expensive pen, especially for a steel nib. So definitely, weigh your options and keep that in mind when you're considering purchasing something. But yeah, just wanted to share my experience with you there, because I would want to know that for sure before I bought something. So to kind of share with you where I'm at with these inks going into making this video, I have admired them for a long time, and I think that their branding and their packaging is really beautiful. But one thing that I struggle with Ferris Wheel Press's inks is that the examples on the website are mostly painted swashes or splashes of ink, and they show off all of the beautiful ink properties really well. There are some kind of big, flowery, decorative lettering samples, but I haven't seen very many just plain paragraphs of tiny handwriting using their inks, and that's what I do personally. I don't paint with fountain pen inks. I know a lot of people do, and I have seen a lot of examples on social media of people who've painted with Ferris Wheel Press inks, but I wasn't entirely sure which to get and which made sense for me as a person who does hand letter a little bit, but mostly is using fountain pens to write out my thoughts and to brain dump and to document my days. So I was especially excited to get to try these out for free, because I was hesitant. I hadn't seen enough examples of the kind of journaling that I do that used these inks. And so now I get to create that for you, and I hope that it's helpful. I know that I'm not getting to try out a ton of their inks here. I have the 2 that they sent me, and then the one that my sister bought for me for Christmas that I hadn't had a chance to ink up yet. So I am getting my journal out here for you, and I am going to just write using their inks, and I'm going to see what it looks like in my style, and we will see how it goes. Before I sent back the pen with the manufacturer defect, I actually cleaned it out and then inked it up with Stroke of Midnight so I could see what that looked like in a fountain pen. And I like it a lot. It's not as dark. You get more of the blue and slightly more shading when you write with it in this fountain pen. And this is a medium nib fountain pen, so there is a finer option. This felt pretty fine to me compared to a lot of the mediums that I have in other brands of fountain pens. And so it was coming out with the ink a bit lighter, which is kind of cool. It also gave me a more direct method of comparison to the Moss Park Green ink, because now that I was writing with it in the same pen, I could see that this ink felt a bit wetter, and it's possible that that's just kind of an illusion from the Moss Park Green being so light, but I preferred writing with Stroke of Midnight in this fountain pen to writing with the Moss Park Green, which I think is a little bit too light for just regular handwriting, but very pretty for little details and for painting if you like to do that. Here's a little comparison of the two different pens that I used the Stroke of Midnight ink in, just to see what they look like side by side. And you can see you don't get as much of the shimmer and the sheen with the fountain pen as you do with the dip pen or thicker areas of writing or drawing. So time jump about a week into the future, and I received the new fountain pen. They sent me the same one, and the first thing I did was check to see if it has the same problem with the grip section coming unscrewed. And as you can see here, it's not a problem anymore. I've been using this pen for a few weeks since I filmed this video, and it hasn't had that problem since. So I don't know what was wrong with the other one, but they fixed the issue and I am much happier. There's also the added bonus of this being a new nib, and it happens to be a slightly broader medium nib, which is what I prefer. And you can kind of see here over on the right side of the page where I'm writing, this is the Moss Park Green again, and it is coming out a little bit darker and easier to read than what was over on the left-hand side, which I wrote with the previous pen that I received. And so I thought that it wrote a lot smoother and the ink came out wetter and darker, which with a very light ink like this, that's what I prefer. I have found as I've collected multiple of the same types of fountain pens across brands that the nibs have some variation in them. Sometimes they come out a little bit broader, sometimes they come a little bit finer, just within the same nib size. So I'm happy that I lucked out and got a slightly broader medium with the second attempt with the pen. I do find it to be very comfortable to write with. It's not too light, not too heavy. It is on the thinner side compared to other pens that I have, but I don't mind that. I have small hands, so it works for me. The grip section itself, because it has all of those little areas where it is etched and has tiny little details in it, it's not completely smooth there. So I guess if I were writing for a long period of time, it's possible that that might bother me, but I think it's so beautiful that it's worth it. And I have other pens that have a smooth grip section that I could write with if I wanted to write for it with longer periods of time, if I ended up having a problem with that. I have not yet. But the other thing I wanted to mention, I do write on very smooth paper typically. I prefer that. And so I love a fountain pen that just glides over the paper in a very like glassy, slippery way. And this pen does have a little bit of feedback, at least on the Tomoe River paper that I've been using it with. That's fine. Some pen brands intentionally design it so that you feel a tiny little bit of a vibration over the paper texture. And there are some types of paper that just do that no matter what. I find with this particular paper, the smoother pens, I just love the way that they feel. And it does have a little bit of feedback in it, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. It's not distracting. It's just a particular preference that I happen to have. I want to thank Ferris Wheel Press for sending me these products to test out for you today. I really appreciate that they got in contact with me. I was really excited to hear from them, and it means a lot to me that they allowed me to share my honest opinions with you. If you have used Ferris Wheel Press products in the past, tell me, what are some of your favorites? Is there anything that I should try out next? I would definitely be interested in knowing whether you want to see more of their products in my videos in the future. If you'd like to see more from me on other social media platforms, you can follow me on Instagram at LaurenFairWX. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you're having a really good day, and I will see you next time.